to put it lightly. Mike McCarthy and his staff are in the final years of their contract. This is the first time Dallas will not be in the postseason since 2020. And so here's Mike McCarthy on where things stand with his future in Big D.
I think it's just a reflection of what we have here. It's a reflection of, everybody talks about culture, and I'm not up here to give a bunch of buzzwords, but we do things the right way. I can attest to that. I've done this long enough to have a strong opinion to how to run a program, what's best for the players. The players are coached, they're coached with detail. There's demand there, accountability. So, the basics are in place. We have a young group of players that have played a lot of football. And my personal experience with that is that will pay dividends moving forward. So I think the future is bright, and, we have a lot of things in place here.
Attention to detail? I don't know. Attention to detail? Shannon, your reaction to what Mike McCarthy said?
I just agree with everything that he had to say, because the culture, unfortunately, is established by their owner. And we know their owner is off the cuff. He'll do things his way, and he doesn't understand. They don't have a culture. The 2 times that they had culture, he fired both of the other coaches, walked away. That's Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells. There's a reason why you hired Dave Campo, a Chan Gailey, a Wade Phillips, a Jason Garrett, a Mike McCarthy. None of those strikes you and reminds you anything of Jimmy Johnson, anything of Bill Parcells. Jerry Jones, immediately, he has a head coach in title only. He emasculates the head coach because all he does is yap and tell you what's going on with the team. The first voice you hear after a game is the downside. Yeah, I would like to win the Super Bowl, but I would like for my wallet to get even fatter. So that's why I'm on that. But I disagree with Mike McCarthy that the culture is established in there.
Yeah, the culture, you're right. It trickles down from what Jerry Jones decides to do. And you don't have to go very far back in the history of this season to think of opportunities where he made the choice that was going to increase the franchise value and increase the attention of the team and not increase the chances of the team having success. The whole idea that every time they come up to a negotiation with their quarterback or any of their star players is they lose the negotiation and they end up like stringing out. This summer was a perfect example. This offseason, they strung out that Dak Prescott negotiation for no reason other than to drop it on opening day in order to get more attention. Like when they needed to solidify their quarterback so that they had more cap space to make the adjustments to this team, they made the decision that got them the most attention, but it didn't get them in position to win. Jerry Jones said they were going to be all in, and then they didn't make any of the moves. So to be critical of McCarthy's time there, because he was brought into a good roster for the sole purpose of getting them over the hump. He didn't do that. You can knock Mike McCarthy for not doing that. But I don't know who would in that situation, given what Jerry Jones has, the precedent that Jerry Jones has set. And to your point, he undercuts his coaches all the time and his players, and he allows his players without repercussion to undercut their quarterback, which we all hold the quarterback in a special position as far as leadership is concerned. Like, there's nothing that Jerry Jones is doing that I think sets this team up to have the success that I think he should. So it's hard to say that there's someone that cares about making money more than winning, but it's hard to prove that he cares about winning more based on the decisions that he's made up until this point. So, to the degree that you can feel sorry for Mike McCarthy, I feel sorry for him in this situation because they're not setting him up for success.
Okay, but you guys, Mike McCarthy knew what he was stepping into. He knew when he took that Dallas Cowboys job that Jerry Jones was always going to be the one coming out after games and talking. Yeah. He knew that he was going to be the one at the end of the day that would allow new players to come in and leave and whatnot. The problem is Jerry Jones did not set the Cowboys up for success this year because of the moves that they did not make in the offseason. And then there were some issues with Mike McCarthy throughout the season with penalties. Shannon, we talked about that a lot, with some locker room issues. Clock management issues. Like, those are the things that do fall on Mike McCarthy. And when he says that they're detail oriented, or I'm forgetting the exact quote, we do everything the right way, I'm like, well, those are the things that do fall on you. Like, Jerry Jones isn't controlling that, Shannon.
You do things the way that Jerry will allow you to do them.
Right.
So if that's your term of correct way, by all means. But Fox, I'm going to ask you this. They have a linebacker that's on their team, and every week he goes on his podcast and he gushes about another team's quarterback. I've never in the history. When people would ask me about quarterbacks, give me number 7. Those guys over there, and I love Joe. I love Dan Marino. I played with them in the Pro Bowl, but they weren't helping Shannon win games. They weren't helping Shannon get to the championship. I'm confused. Why did he feel he needs to go on his podcast and talk about that guy should be the MVP? Ooh, that guy's playing beautiful. If your defense, think about how many points you gave up. But I've never seen it. That's just me. Maybe I've not been around the game as long as you have, Foxworth, but I've never seen another player gush about another player on another team way this young man gushes about Joe Burrow.
And earlier in the season, or I think this is the offseason, where he ranked the quarterbacks and left
Dak Prescott off the list.
I think this all goes back to Jerry Jones. Unfortunately, to your point, you can blame Mike McCarthy for having too many penalties. But I think the culture is set. Like, who do they answer to? Do they understand that Mike McCarthy has the authority to run a tight practice, to hold them accountable? Who do they respond to when it comes to what's appropriate to say about your teammates and your quarterback? While Jerry Jones is always like stringing out these negotiations and pretending like Dak is not the best option at quarterback, he undercuts it. And then when people are outspoken negatively about Dak Prescott, does he defend them? Like, this all goes back to the way that Jerry Jones runs his team, the example that he sets, the things that he tolerates and improves. Like, there are very few things that an owner can affect on the field. They can affect the culture, and they affect the culture in the way that they allow things to go and they force things to happen. And Jerry Jones, throughout the course of the last, a few decades, it seems like he's had a very permissive culture and then brings in these coaches and doesn't give them the authority to address it, undercuts them, and then fires them. And so, like, to your point about Micah Parsons talking about the quarterbacks on his podcast, like, I don't know that that's something that we see anywhere else in football.
Was it Micah Parsons that referenced him as Mike once in a postseason or in a post-game interview? Anyways, Mike, I was asking the encyclopedia.
At first, Shay, remember, he didn't care. He wasn't concerned about Mike McCarthy because Mike McCarthy could go somewhere else and get another job.
That was it.
It was the guy that had been playing and that had been playing for an extended period of time that he was more concerned with. Now he's concerned about Mike. He would love to have Mike McCarthy back and yada yada yada. I'm just like, nah, bro. Y'all do too much talking, not enough playing. It's not your job to critique other teams' players. But I get it. That's what you feel comfortable with. That's what Jerry has allowed, and that's what will continue. But that's what's going to keep you guys from winning the playoffs. No other team does it the way the Cowboys do, and that's why they have the lack of success as far as winning in the playoffs, because ultimately that's what you're measured by, that they have.
So then the next question, obviously, here is, should Mike McCarthy even want to return? He's in the last year of his contract. We just laid out the reasons why he is a little bit handcuffed in terms of what he might want to do as a head coach. Should he even want to return as the Cowboys head coach? Neek, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, there aren't very many opportunities out there, I think, to have this job. If Jerry Jones will keep paying you to coach this team, which is incredibly talented, and they started, I was going to say they played better on defense. They did up until last week because Micah Parsons returned. And, yeah, I would allow Micah Parsons to get away with a lot is when he's playing as well as he's playing, but you have to draw the line somewhere. But this team is not. They have a quarterback that we know is good enough. They have a couple guys on defense that are incredibly talented. They have a true X-receiver that can change games. I think the difference between them and the top of the NFC is not incredibly vast. If Jerry Jones is willing to spend money and address those issues, and they continue to draft well, which this team has done pretty well in recent history, I think this team is back in contention. And yeah, if Jerry Jones wants Mike McCarthy back, maybe he's learning better how to operate within the structure of this organization, but you can't have a lame duck coach with no power, with no extra year on his contract while you're also undercutting him and expect top tier results.
Hey, Fox, let me ask you a question. You know what? We got beat 41-7, but if you take away the score, we're right there with them.
Oh, no, don't. Don't. We're going to talk about that later.
There's a reason why you keep score.
We're going to talk about it later.
It's 4 or 5 plays, man. That's all.
That's why you keep score. But yeah, Shay, I want that job. There's only 32 of them, and you mean to tell me I get to coach the most prestigious team? And yeah, y'all gonna beat me up when things don't go well, but deep down inside, y'all know it's not my fault. You know I don't really have any control. Jerry pulls all the strings. I'm just a ventriloquist, and he's doing all the talking. My lips are moving, but I don't really control anything. I don't really set the itinerary. I don't set the schedule. Everything is run according to what Jerry does. Now, look, I know y'all gonna blame me and say, well, Shay and Shannon, the Shay Square says my time management, my use of the challenge flag, and all these penalties, you either coaching or condoning it. I know they're gonna put that on me, but deep down inside, they really know who it is. So you know what? If Jerry Jones gonna give me another 3-5-year contract and gonna pay me somewhere around $6 to $7, $8 million a year, hell yeah, I'm gonna take it because there's only 32 of these jobs available, Dominique.
Yeah.
If Mike McCarthy signs for $6-7 million a year for 3-4 years, this show, I don't know, we'll have to do a 5